Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you tonight to hopefully will be some very informative discussion or with our panelists about athletics at Southwest ISD. My name is Peter Wagner. I'm the athletics director at Southwest ISD. I would like to take the time to introduce our panelists for tonight, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Verstoff for some opening comments. First of all, our esteemed Dr. Lloyd Verstoff, our superintendent of schools. Our assistant athletic director, Melanie Henson. Our head football coach and athletic coordinator at Legacy High School, John Tarvin. And our athletic coordinator and head football coach at Southwest High School, Alex Franco. So I want to thank these people for being here today to help us. They'll be looking at the chat to answer any questions as much as possible, and then also finding some questions that we can answer at the end as well. So if you have any questions, let us know. At this time, I want to turn it over to Dr. Lloyd Verstoff for opening comments.
So good evening, Southwest ISD community. And I just want to say a few things before we get started tonight. First of all, I just want to let our families know, to those families and loved ones who have been impacted by this COVID event directly, that our hearts and our prayers go out to you. And you know, we are in this world pandemic. We're in it together, and you know, it's always our objective to keep our families and our students and our staff as safe as possible. And we think one way to do that, going into the new school year during this unprecedented time, which we've never had to do things like this, is to communicate really well to our families. And so over the last couple of weeks, we have created some town hall opportunities, and it's, you know, I know a town hall version is usually give and take, and we hear information. When you have over 500, over 1,000 participants, really they turn into information sessions, and so we try to get information out to all of our families, to our students, to our parents, and then we provide a opportunity for some chat opportunity. But we do want our parents to know, if you really want to have a one-on-one conversation, send us an email. I know the athletic directors are both on here. Our head coaches are on here. I'm on here. It's not that we don't want to talk. It's that we're trying to make sure we can get out all the information because we know you have some decisions you have to make as a family, and you need to know what we're doing to make sure we keep our students, your children, safe going into this new school year. So we've reached out with some information about what a school day would look like and what are some protocols. And I'd like to remind those folks who may not have joined us for last week's town hall information session that we do have our 5-point reentry plan on our website. So if you go to swisd.net and look for the COVID website, you'll see that we have a reentry plan. What does that look like? What metrics do we look at? What are some standards we're doing in protecting our students and making sure we can deliver curriculum and instruction in a very effective way, and make school as normal as possible during this time. So we know that last year we ended the school year. This thing kind of came on into our backyard around March of 2020 when we left for spring break. We actually really never came back to school. And so I want to commend our coaches, our teachers, our staff, our parents and our families and our students for having to move to this emergency remote environment to complete the 1920 school year. And now we're having to do some things we've never had to work with before in opening up a new year. And we hope we can contend with this pandemic, and we can contend with this virus, and that we can have, as the year goes on, we can have a more normal school year with every passing week and every passing day and every passing month. And so that's our goal. So tonight, it's about bringing information to you in the arena of athletics. And we know that student athletes and participating in sports during your school experience is definitely a rite of passage, and it's a lifetime memory. And so we are committed to trying to make that as normal as we possibly can, but also keeping our students as safe as we possibly can. We know that we deal with Texas Education Agency, the UIL, health officials, state and local leaders. So folks that you see on the screen and hear from tonight, they are engaged and involved in meetings every week, multiple meetings every day, to try to understand what everyone is doing around the state, what everyone is doing in our region, what everyone's doing in our district. And we're going to bring you our best information tonight. But I also want to promise you one thing I know for sure, that after tonight and after you get information tonight, it's going to change before we even get to the start of the school year. And I can promise you, back in June, we used to see the changes happen every couple of weeks. And then when we got to July, it happened every week. And as we got to the end of July into August, we see things and decisions changing from day to day. And we definitely see that in the arena of UIL and competition in UIL and what that looks like. So tonight, you're going to hear our best thinking from our athletic leadership. But I just want everyone to understand we're in a very fluid situation, and what may affect and impact us, it may be different in another district that we may be competing with. And so understand there's a lot of issues and things that we're dealing with right now. And so I just want to say welcome to this town hall. Let you know that we understand there's frustration out there. I think we're all frustrated to a point, but I think if we come together and collectively and work collaboratively, we will get into the school year. We will do the best we can to make sure we have some normal and lifetime experiences for our students in the student athlete arena. And so I'll turn this back over to Coach Wagner and let him kind of do the presentation, and I'll just hang out and be a learner as well and be available for any posted questions that we may have at the end. Coach Wagner. I think you're muted.
I've done 2 of these. I'm 0 for 2. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now and start our presentation of the different information that we want to give to the community. So at this time, this is what it looks like today. We're looking at our back to school and athletics. At the end of this meeting, you should understand a few things. Number one, the biggest question that we get, can a student who is choosing remote learning, can they still participate in athletics? So the first thing I want to answer is yes. All students, remote or face-to-face on-campus learners, can participate. And we have ways that we will try to make it as accessible as possible as well. So I want to make that clear. All students, remote or on campus, can participate in all athletic activities. Number 2, you need to make your choice whether your student athlete is going to be going remote or on campus by Friday, August the 14th. We will post this onto our website. It's obviously on the Southwest ISD website. The link is right there where you can go to make those choices. But it is very, very beneficial for you to do this by Friday so that it helps us plan a lot better, both for athletics, but for all of our schools as a whole. Number 3, we need you to understand the essentials that every student athlete, whether you're remote or on campus, has to have to be able to participate. We want you to understand what a remote learner versus an on-campus learner is. And then we want you to understand what will a student athlete's day look like for each level of participation. And then the last one is we'll be looking for questions and things like that. So again, as Dr. Verstov said, we please understand, we are planning to start all activities on September 8th. However, things change hourly. Now, please be patient with us as we expect a lot of last-second changes to schedules and practices, and we'll communicate in the most effective and efficient way possible. We are collaborating with all of the people that we need to, from health officials to government officials to our health and safety team at Southwest ISD, so that we can create the most safe learning and athletic environment possible. All of our protocols will align with SWISD, TEA, and UIL guidelines, and will be posted for your review as soon as we can get them all ready. So the first thing, What all students must have to participate. Number one, all incoming 7th graders or any athlete who has not participated at Southwest ISD must get a physical and turn it in along with all online forms found on our website. Okay, and you can find that at southwestsports.rank1sport.com. Okay, also on our website, you'll find the places that provide affordable physicals. And that link is also on here, and you'll be able to access this presentation probably by tomorrow. The next thing, all athletes must have their medical history form along with all other online forms filled out and turned in electronically. These can be found at our website at southwestsports.rank1sport.com. Okay, and there's a site on there, and you can click on it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us or call, and we'll do our best to walk you through it. Next is all students must fill out the pre-screening form before coming to practice or school every day. So we are working with making sure that we can we're going to have to do it on rank 1, or we're trying to work with the school to make sure that you only have to fill out one pre-screening form. But everybody will have to do that. And then when you come to practice in the morning, we will still be taking your temperature as well. All athletes must come to practice with their own mask and their own water bottles. Okay. We need you to bring your own mask, obviously. And then we will be providing gaiters for all of our athletes as soon as they get in. We've ordered them. And so we want to make sure that they have them, because even when they come off the field, they're going to have to put it over their face when they're on the sidelines at all times. Also, water. You will need to make sure that they have their own water bottle. We don't want to be sharing water bottles at this time. Okay, we'll make sure that there's places to refill those water bottles all the time, but we need to make sure that they have their own. We will provide safe opportunities to fill them up. What is a remote learner? Again, all student athletes who choose remote learning can participate in athletics. Parents will be responsible for transportation to morning practices, and then we will provide transportation home if needed. So if you're a remote learner and you need a ride to, and you will need to get your own ride to practice, and when practice is over, our transportation department will bring you back if you're a remote learner to your house, if you don't have somebody to pick you up to take you home so you can get back and get started with your school day. We will provide transportation in the afternoon for kids who are remote learners to bring them to practice for those teams who have practices in the afternoon. Parents will be responsible for picking up their child in the evening after practice, as we've always done. Okay, so I want to repeat real quick. If your child has a morning practice, and we're going to go over some of this in a second, you will be responsible for bringing them to practice in the morning. If they need a ride home, or they can't get a ride home, or you need them to get home as they're a remote learner, then our transportation department will bring them home so that they can get started on their schoolwork that day. If they practice in the afternoon, we will go pick them up if they need a ride to school for practice, and then each parent will be responsible for picking their child up after practice. A remote learner is a student athlete that stays home for school. The student is responsible for logging on, learning, and completing all work for each class at a high level. Remote learning is not going to be the same type of learning that happened when we left at spring break and what happened for April and May when we were just trying to get our bearings about us. There will be a lot more accountability for a remote learner. We need everybody to understand that, because we will still be responsible for no pass, no play. It will be, your child will be responsible for passing at the end of the 6-week grading period, and then at the end of the 9-week grading period for the first 9 weeks, and then every 9 weeks after that. So it's very important. It's not go and then we have to hunt you down to figure out if you've turned your stuff in. They have to be on it when they're a remote learner. And our coaches will support you in that. We will be watching their grades no different than if they were at school. It is expected that they try to log on during the times the actual class is taking place. So the each school has put out a schedule. We hope that, and we will try our best to help them to stay on that schedule so that they can learn best with those teachers. For best details, please click on the site that's on here. It will show you the choices, and you'll be able to click a remote learner and all of the expectations that go with being a remote learner. But again, if you are a remote learner, you can participate in athletics. If their child needs a ride in the morning getting home so that they can get started, we are going to help with that. If your child needs a ride in the middle of the day at about 1:30, we're going to pick them up between 1:30 and 2:30. Between 1:30 and 2 to bring them to practice. And then we will make sure that they are safe and monitored and socially distanced so that if they need to, they can continue working on that class before practice. An on-campus learner, all students choosing face-to-face or on-campus learning may participate in all athletics. Parents are still responsible for getting their athletes to practice in the mornings or picking them up after school. No different than has always been the case. Students will still be expected to wear a mask at all times, and will have to do a self-screening in the morning and have their temperature checked either when they get to practice or when they come into the school building. To find out the expectations on face-to-face learners, you can visit the SWISD site, and there's also a link on this presentation. So there's three different schedules basically for our student athletes, okay? Number one is the JV varsity. If your son or daughter is on JV or varsity football, volleyball, basketball, and soccer, their practices and athletic periods will be in the morning and first period on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at the high school. And the reason we do this is because we want them to be able to come to practice, get all of the things they need to get done in athletics done by the end of the athletic period on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then we will take those kids home at the end of their athletic period. We will take them home at 10:45 on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So if your kid is a JV or varsity volleyball, football, basketball, or soccer player, their athletic period will be first period. They will have strength and conditioning if they're not in season in the morning before school, and they will have all of their practices in the mornings before school. And if they're a remote learner, then we will get them home. Either they'll have their own ride, or we will take them by bus so that they can get home to make sure that they get started with their studies. If you need to see some of these schedules, you can also go to southwestisd.net and you'll be able to click through for those schedules. The second one, all ninth graders, our swim team, our softball team, our baseball team, our track, golf, and tennis athletic periods will be fourth period, beginning at around 2:30 on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Okay? Most of these practices will be in the afternoon. Some on Tuesdays and Thursdays could be in the morning. Coaches will communicate this for each specific sport. They'll tell you the exact time for those ninth grade practices. And the reason for that is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they won't have an athletic period. So we may be able to get some of their practices done in the morning so we can get them home and they can use the whole day for their studies, and we can help them out to get so that they're better supported that way. On Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, their athletic period is fourth period, which means that it's at the very end of the day. So they'll start their practices and training around 3 o'clock-ish, okay? And then they will, if they're in season, they'll finish their practices up after school. All right, so we'll be able to better communicate those specific schedules through your coaches. All middle school athletes will practice after school, and that starts at about 3 o'clock. No different than it's always been. Okay, so let's talk about the JV varsity football, volleyball, soccer, and basketball athlete. Okay, number one, most practices, including strength and conditioning and open gyms or fields, will take place in the morning. The UIL has allowed us to start doing outside of the school day, we can do strength and conditioning so we can focus on skills during the athletic period if our coaches choose to. And so all of that would take place in the mornings. And the times will vary based on what the coach will let you know when that is. Each athlete will need to be dropped off at a time scheduled by the coach. Number 2, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, there will be a bus after first period to take an athlete home for remote learning if they need that ride at 10:45 a.m. The on-campus learner will go to their career and college readiness class on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays after athletics. They'll just go to their next class. Number 3, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, practices, strength and conditioning, and or open gyms or fields will be finished in time for athletes to go to their 5th period. That would be the very first period of the day, okay, that starts at 9:15. They will go to their 5th period class. The remote learner will get on a bus and go home, and that bus will leave at 9:15 or be picked up or legally drive themselves home to continue their schoolwork. Lastly, coaches will communicate all game day schedules as they are worked out. Again, like Dr. Verstup said, these things change on a regular basis. I think we're on about our 4th football schedule and our 4th cross-country schedule already. So these things will change, as well as how we need to get them up for game days and things like that, because those game days are in the afternoon. Your coach will be able to work that out, and they will communicate that with you. The next one, high school for the 4th period athletic student athlete. First, practices on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday will begin at 3 p.m. Parents will be responsible for athlete pickup at the time communicated by the coach. So your athlete can be picked up. They may be able to get out of school and when the bell rings if they're not in season and ride the bus home. A lot of coaches will probably have strength and conditioning all together for those 4th period athletics, and that may start at 4:25 after school, to which they may need to get a ride home from you, the parent, or they're in season and they have to finish their classes. They have to finish their practices, okay? Number 2, practices on Tuesdays and Thursdays may take place in after school, but may be held in the morning before school starts at the coach's discretion. And I just covered this. If we won't have any athletic periods on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so all of our practices will take place outside of the school day. So that gives our coaches a little bit more discretion as to what's best for our kids. It's hot out right now. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it may be best, if possible, for our freshmen to practice in the morning, or for others. But a lot of the time for schedules, it'll be better to practice in the afternoon. And so we'll make sure that we communicate when those practices are, but they'll need to be picked up at that time, or if it's a morning practice, be dropped off, and then we'll get them home, okay? Students who need a ride will be picked up by bus between 1:30 and 2 o'clock. So this is 4th period athletics. It's the last class of the day on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, but they will be picked up every day if they need a ride to school. And I will try to be as clear as possible about this. Every day, Monday through Friday, there will be a bus picking your child up if they are a remote learner from between 1:30 and 2 o'clock, in that range, to get them to practice so that they can practice each and every day. So when they get there at 2:30 on a Tuesday and Thursday, our coaching staff is going to find a place like a gym that is very socially distant, and we can put them, and they'll need to bring their Chromebook, and they'll need to be able to get on at that point for their 7th period class. Once their 7th period class is over with, then they can go to practice. Now, if they're getting their own ride, if you're dropping them off, they just need to be at practice at the time that practice starts, which would be somewhere between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. So if they're riding the bus, that would be the only reason they would need to be in the gym or wherever we're designating so that they're safe to do their work. If they're getting their own ride, they just need to be there by the time practice starts after school. And we'll work on and communicate all of those drop-off procedures by each coach in each situation. Should a coach schedule a morning practice on a Tuesday or Thursday, parents will be responsible for transportation to practice and transport, and transportation will be provided to get the athlete home to resume remote learning or to go to their 5th period class. And 5th period, again, is that first period of the day on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And finally, game day schedules will be communicated by individual sport coaches. Those will change depending on what times the game starts and the different situations that need to be taken care of for that day. And finally, the third one, middle school athletics. In middle school, all practices will take place after school beginning at 3 p.m., just like they've done in the past. Remote learners who need a ride will be picked up by SWISD transportation between 1:30 and 2 o'clock. Parents will be, and they will bring them there. They'll drop them off about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then they'll get ready and they'll go to practice. Parents will be expected to pick up athletes after practices as usual. Most game days, other than football, should be very similar to the schedule that I just stated. Let's talk about CAS STEM. All CAS STEM students interested in participating in athletics can. Athletes wishing to compete for CAS STEM can and may do so in individual sports such as cross country, tennis, golf, swim, track and field, and powerlifting. And so what I mean by that is, if you're a CAS STEM student athlete and you want to communicate and you want to compete for CAS STEM, not for Legacy, not for Southwest High School, then you can choose to play the sports of cross country, tennis, golf, swim, track and field, and powerlifting. Okay? A CAS STEM athlete that lives in Southwest ISD may compete in team sports for the school in which their attendance zone they live in. They will not have a scheduled athletics period. A shuttle bus will bring them to school if they are at Legacy from a morning practice, and to Legacy if they have an after-school practice. So again, all CAS STEM students who choose to participate in athletics can. If you want to play a team sport and you're at CAS STEM, you need to live in Southwest ISD, and then you will compete for the school the attendance zone that you live in. CAS STEM athletes in individual sports will practice at Southwest High School, but they will not be Dragons. They'll be CAS STEM athletes competing for CAS STEM. Things that will not change. Let's talk about these things. First of all, things that won't change are our commitment to coaching your child's inner coach through teaching the 7 habits of highly effective people in our Warrior program. Please challenge them every day to earn their school Warrior status, and we'll get more information to you on that. 2, if your child wants to play in college, we are continuing to work on ways to educate our athletes and families on all the ways they can earn an opportunity to continue playing in college. There are so many opportunities for all of our kids if they help us help them do the work to find those opportunities. And finally, we will start sending home and posting all kinds of great college and recruiting information to help our athletes and families. So those things are not going to change, and that's what we've always done, and we will continue to do it and try to continue to get better at it. Finally, coaches will begin trying to sign all of our parents and athletes up for a Sports U account. That will be used in place of our other ways of communicating. Please make sure to sign up, and when asked to, as this will be our main way to communicate along with our website and Twitter, and as well as the Southwest ISD website. All students, remote or face-to-face, again, can participate. The choice must be made by Friday, and I was just told that deadline got moved to Monday, August the 17th. But the sooner you can if you know what you're doing, then please get on and let us know what you're doing so that we can continue to make good decisions based on data. We will post this presentation with all the links as well on the athletics site. And finally, at this time, we will answer as many questions as we possibly can from the chat. So let me stop this real quick. And I'm going to turn to Melanie Henson and see, she's gonna talk about some of the questions that came from YouTube so that we can answer those.
Okay, Coach Wagner. First question is my student responsible for a ride to school for athletic period?
Yes. Now, if they're in athletics, just the start of athletics, then they can ride the bus on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then they'll go to their athletic period. but most of our stuff is going to start before school now with our ability to have strength and conditioning before school. So we would ask that you get a ride to school if that's what their coach asks.
Okay, the next question is concerning a CAS student in an athletic period. Could you clarify their participation in athletic periods?
CAS STEM does not have athletic periods. They can participate in athletics. They will have an opportunity to compete for positions, all of those things at their practice, but they go to school and they do not have actual athletic periods. So we get them so that they can continue their hard work in a great program.
That's all I have on the YouTube side.
Okay. Coach Tarvin, Coach Franco, do you guys have anything on Zoom?
There is a question on some of the students that they need to get some updated doctor clearance and action plans. How do they get them up to the coaches?
I'm going to turn that one over to Trainer Henson.
Okay, so if parents need to send physical forms, medical documentation, anything like that, you can email me directly at mhenson@swisd.net or your athletic trainer on your campus, and we will take care of that for you. We did have a question on medications for the school. If your child is asthmatic and we begin athletic workouts on September 8th, the athletic department and the campus will need a copy of the asthma action form, and you will need to provide an inhaler to both sites. We don't have, because of our proximity of our practices and our fields, having that information strictly in the nurse's office is not feasible. So we need that at both sites so that we can care for your child.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Coach Wagner, I just want to add, there's a lot of areas we're not covering either tonight. I know there will be questions about fans in the stands and what does that look like, and do we get to go to away games, and what does that look like? So I just want our parents to understand those are things we're going to address later on tonight. It's just about kind of getting out the kind of nuts and bolts where we are right now, what it will look like. I'd like our families to know that all students in Southwest will start school in a remote environment for the first 2 weeks at least, and that any parent who is choosing a face-to-face environment, that will not happen before September the 8th. It would happen at some point after September the 8th, based on a color-coded rubric that we are developing in concert with some local ISDs and in concert with our local health experts and some of our state and local leaders to put our best thinking around when can students basically be on site safely, and how can we guarantee that we can keep them social distance and apart. So we know there are more questions about some of those things, and so this, tonight's the beginning of a conversation, but it's definitely not the beginning and the end of the conversation. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there as well.
Thank you, Dr. Verstup. The big goal tonight was, we know that there's a big decision facing a lot of our parents in our community, and a lot of questions we are getting is, Coach, can we participate in athletics if we're going to be a remote learner? And a lot of the scheduling and the day-to-day life of being able to be in athletics with everything going on. And so we wanted to share with you the nuts and bolts, as Dr. Verstup said, of the schedule, of how to plan, how are you going to get to practice, how are you getting home from practice, what do all of those things look like? And we wanted to make sure that our families were able to make an informed decision when they're choosing to do that, because we know that decision is coming up very fast, and we need great data for our decision makers to continue as well. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to email myself. My email is pwagner@swisd.net. I will answer as many questions as I can as fast as possible to help you. give us a call. All of those things, we're happy to help you. And so really want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I know Ms. Henson, you have something.
They're getting a lot of questions on physicals.
Okay.
All incoming 7th graders will have to have a new physical. If your student participated in Southwest ISD athletics last year, grades 7 through 11, you need to fill out the online medical history form. Once that's completed, our athletic trainers will review it. And if everything's good and the physical from last year's in good standing, you will not need to have a new physical. How do you know if you need to have a new physical? As soon as they clear that form, you're going to get an email. If they don't clear the form and they need further documentation, you will get direct contact, phone call, and email from our athletic trainers to help walk you through the process.
Coach Franco, you have some questions from Zoom?
Yes, I have one. Does the COVID-19 participating screening have to be completed every day?
Yes. And we're trying to make that as seamless and as easy as possible, but we need to make sure that everybody is safe when they get here, because when you get here, if you're not, you're putting everybody else at risk. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that there is a safe environment that we're bringing our kids into.
If a parent is unable to submit forms online, is there anywhere to drop them off?
I'll let Trainer Henson answer that.
You can drop off the physical form to the field house at either high school. All other forms must be completed electronically.
Coach Wagner, I thought this was an interesting question from our conversation earlier. Is it mandatory for students to attend morning and afternoon meetings or morning and afternoon practices? You might want to talk about that.
So it is obviously you need to be able to come to practices every day to compete for a position. Is it mandatory if you're sick? No, we don't want you to come to work. We don't want you to come to practice if you're not feeling good. If you can't fill out that pre-screening form extremely honestly, if you have taken a test and you're waiting on results, please don't come to school and don't come to practice. If you don't feel good, don't come to practice. But if you're feeling good and you're healthy, you should be at practice every single day, no matter what. If it's summer strength and if it's strength and conditioning, not summer, but it's strength and conditioning, then you should always try to be at practice in whatever way possible. And if you can't be, you should be communicating with your coach at all times so that we know where you are. We care very much about you, and we need to know where you are so we know the questions, so we can figure out questions to ask to figure out how we might need to support you in any way. So the answer to your question is you should always be at practice. Do you have to be at practice? No, you always have choices in how you do things. Okay. And then we will evaluate that way. But yes, you should be at practice. If you can't be at practice, you should communicate with your coaches.
Coach Wagner, I feel like the question was more like if will they be asked to attend a morning and an afternoon practice?
Oh, well, that's a lot easier. No, the idea the idea to the whole thing is to how we have organized this is that a student gets dropped off by their parents in the morning, and they will do all of their athletic activities in the morning if that's when their practice is, and they will not have to come back a second time. If they're an afternoon person and their practice is in the afternoon, then they will, if they need a ride to school, we're going to pick them up and bring them. If they get dropped off for practice, then we're going to take care of that. But you should only have to come to school if you're a remote learner for athletics one time. And the only time I would say that may be a little bit different if it's game day. Other than that, for practices and workouts and all of those things, you should only have to come to school one time.
On the Zoom meeting, we're getting quite a bit of questions on transportation. What happens with transportation if students outside the district, and also what happens to transportation if a student misses the bus on the way home or to practice?
Let's talk about on the way home. So we're responsible for making sure those kids are ready to go to get on the bus and get on the bus safely to send them home safely. So getting them there, we will make sure that happens. or we will take responsibility for that not happening as coaches. If a student misses the bus coming to practice, then I would say they need to communicate with their coach so that they know that they're not going to be there. And then we can help them try to be as resourceful as possible to get there. But they will be responsible for getting there if they miss that bus. So I would say, using our 7 habits training, be proactive and make sure you're on the bus. Anybody else? I want to turn it over to Dr. Verstuff. If Dr. Verstuff, you want to have any closing remarks or anything like that, and then I can close it up.
Well, I just want to reemphasize to our parents that we're going to continue to talk with you, communicate with you. If you have any questions beyond tonight, encourage you to go to the website of the high school, appropriate high school, and you can find the coaches there, and definitely send an email to them and ask it and get answers to your questions. You know, I want you to know we're going to do the best we can moving forward. There are still a lot of unknowns. We know that there are some decisions that are going to be made at the college level that I think will have some impact on the high school level, and we don't know what impact or how that will be. We know that the COVID landscape in Bexar County and San Antonio is getting better to kind of loosen some restrictions, and so we hope that continues to go in the right direction so that we can do some things for our students. But no matter what we do, just understand that we're going to have to make sure that we have social distancing and that we have appropriate PPE, and we're doing the right things, because the last thing we ever want to do is put one of our kids, your children, in any harm's way. And so we're going to do the best we can within the parameters of safety and the appropriate protocols. And we don't know where this will end up, but right now we're taking it day by day and week by week. And tonight we've given you the best information we have, and we look forward to more conversation with our families and with our student athletes. So thank you, Coach.
Thank you very much, Dr. Verstuff. At this time, we're going to go ahead and end the session. So thank you. And again, if you have any questions, please email us or give us a call, and we'll be happy to discuss any specific situations that you may have. So thank you very much, everybody, and good night, and stay safe, and God bless.